How many tabs do you guys have open right now?
Oh, like at least 30, maybe more?
Definitely a lot, too much.
Yeah, it's tough to keep up with them all. Why is there not a solution that we can put everything within one roof on one tab?
I mean, I feel like it's just kinda difficult. There's a lot of
Yeah,
component going on.
yeah, a lot of moving pieces, I would say.
Have you guys heard of Hospitality Hub?
No, what's that?
No.
Thanks to our sponsor, TravelNet, you can now integrate the best solutions into Hospitality Hub, a single tool within the award-winning Track software. Optimize and integrate with Hospitality Hub, the most powerful platform for property management teams. Learn more with the link in our show notes.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
Good morning. How we
Good
doing?
morning.
You've got a different background, Will.
I know. Always changing it up on you guys, trying to keep it spicy on the live podcast.
Mr. International over here.
Yeah. Hey, North Carolina is a great state. I've been loving the beach. It's been fun. Should come here more often.
You might be.
Maybe a move. Maybe a move. Who knows? Just kidding. How are you guys doing? You guys have a good weekend?
Yeah, I had a great weekend. I've had some fun dinners. So very low
Dinners?
key, but dinners. Yeah,
Nice.
dinners.
We're in the process of teaching Ollie how to swim, so he's slowly starting to get it. It's not
Nice.
fun
Oh
to
my
watch.
That's so cute.
Our main man, Oliver. He's like one of our number one fans of the podcast.
He loves the Sojo cup.
He does. Nice.
Yeah, he makes a comment every time I have it.
What's the best comment he said so far?
I like your new cup. It's a big one.
Wow. Yeah, direct to the point.
Unprovoked and out of the blue. Yeah, it's as good of a compliment as you're going to get from a 4-year-old.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of I love your cup and Sojo, should we bring on Max, the founder of Sojo?
I think we should.
It's great.
I think we should. We've been waiting for this guy. So for all of our live listeners and viewers, give a big round of applause for Max Farley, CEO and founder of Sojo. Let's go. Welcome, Max. How we doing?
Hey, doing great. How are you?
Living the dream. Long time no see.
I know it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. You've done a lot in a short period of time. I think you and I talked in March last year when I was living in Mexico. Had you on Slick Talk, and then I think we kept in touch for a little bit after that, and then you guys have just been booming ever since. So I would love for any of the listeners right now or the live viewers, can you give us a high level 30 to 60 second overview of Sojo, who you guys are, and what you do?
Sure. So Sojo is an automated amenity platform. So we work with property managers of all shapes and sizes, all across the country. Our goal is to leverage the data that exists within property managers' tech stack, whether that's their operational platform like a Breezeway or their PMS. And then we help them deploy programs to standardize and automate their operations, whether that's guest gifts, homeowner gifts, VIP gifts, amenities programs like bath amenities, kitchen amenities, and so on. Really just trying to drive value through saving time, standardization, automation. And then our second goal is to put their brand in front of their guests as frequently as possible. And we want to be a brand advocate for them. We want to drive brand awareness throughout the guest stay to help them leverage the Sojo product and tech tools to drive repeat bookings and direct bookings. So started the business late 2021, launched right as I was talking to you when you were in Mexico, and March, April of last year, and been building out the team ever since. So just been having a blast.
Max, what spurred you to start a hospitality business in 2021?
So I'd exited the last business I had started, and had always been a huge consumer of the product that is the vacation rental industry, and just loved how small the industry felt regionally. And so I love the idea. I loved the idea of selling to businesses that were small and looking to scale. and thought that it had great tailwinds, great opportunity, and really my expertise is being that intersection of sort of tech, logistics, and product, and thought there were a lot of tech businesses, but none of them that were as tangible as what I wanted to build in Sojo. So it just felt like right opportunity, right time.
Yeah, when in this industry, I think over the last, 5-10 years, there's been the introduction of a lot of tech, and some people have been a little bit more reluctant to adopt some of that. Have you found that people are really embracing this kind of solution, or have you had to kind of educate them and persuade them to see some of that value?
Yeah, it's been harder than I would have thought to. Well, I think one of the biggest things you learn after being in business for a year is that not everyone in the space is a good customer of Sojo. And like when you're just starting out and you're super thirsty and you're like, man, I want as many customers as I can get, like you'll take anyone and chase them down. I think the reality is that there's product managers who really care about their operations and really want to drive the best client experience possible, and that starts with having a really lock tight operations on their back end. And those people are great customers for Sojo, and that's not everyone, right? I mean, those people who want their brand in front of their customer, really lock down operations, get to more repeat bookings, get to higher guest reviews. I mean, that's where we are a great piece of that puzzle. The Walmarts of the world, or the people that are looking for just pure velocity, like we chased them a lot in the beginning, and I was always ticked. I hate losing, and so I was ticked when we wouldn't get those customers, or when they got on the platform and then off. And I think just realizing that not everyone's the perfect fit for us was a necessary lesson for us to learn in the first year. And when you find those right customers, and it's easy. They get it right away. They understand your value prop, and they want to come on board. And the ones that take longer typically aren't the best fit for us anyways.
Yeah, I think that's a really important lesson to learn, that you don't want everybody. You want to make sure that your clients fit with you. And I think sometimes it seems like you learn that lesson very quickly, but sometimes it's a longer lesson to learn. But that's great.
It's expensive either way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
whether it takes a short amount of time or a long amount of time, but it's been one, and that's been one of the best decisions I ever made, was hiring and building a team of people that had been in the industry for a long time. And they told me from day one, hey, these are the right customers for us, these are not. And as thick-headed as they come. So I didn't listen at first, but 6 months in, 12 months in, being able to go back and tell them, hey, you were right all along. Like that's absolutely what we've learned in the first year of operations.
Yeah, there's an old startup adage of you'll always fire your first customer, and it's because they're probably not the right fit for what you are. You'll shift and the product will morph into something different. And early adopters like to be early adopters. And if you've been a customer for a long time, then probably not on the early phase anymore.
That's right.
So
I was gonna go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. So you guys are deep into operations and logistics, something that is very outside of my scope and terrifies me. A lot of moving parts, a lot of little pieces that have to fit into the puzzle to actually execute. We had the great shortage of toilet paper in 2020. How do you guys navigate supply chain issues that are obviously significantly outside of your control? Do you guys just stack inventory, or do you have numbers of vendors that can provide the same thing and kind of backed up in line?
Yeah, but I don't know if we certainly wouldn't have been ahead of that, right? If I could have seen the future, I'd probably be on a beach somewhere, not here today. But so we wouldn't have been ahead in that scenario. But like we've got great partnerships in the space, right? So for us, it's all around how are you prepared and how are you appropriately inventoried for your clients. We have a partnership with Key Data, and every single time we get a new customer, we plug into Key Data. We see all of their historical and forward trends from a pacing standpoint, so we know how much inventory we need to have on hand for them throughout their season. And so being intelligent and leveraging the data and the partnerships that we have in the space allow us to be, more dialed in and continue to be able to provide that service to our clients.
I love that. That makes total sense. I would have never thought to look ahead. It's genius. And then maybe explain one layer deeper to the listeners. We're sending these boxes to the warehouse, we're sending them to the actual house. How, like, do they time it perfectly on turn day? How do you ensure
Sure.
deliveries are right on time?
So when we integrate with your operational software, your PMS, we see all of the homes that you're managing, right? And we see all the attributes of the home, number of bathrooms, half bathrooms, kitchens, and then we see the reservations associated with it. I'd say 99 out of 100 of our clients want their goods to arrive a few days in advance of departure. And so they want the goods to either be delivered to the home. We deliver to the home for probably 10% of our customers. I'd say 90% of them are delivering to their office or their warehouse where they're having their linens or their cleaners come anyways. And so we're delivering the packages by home to that warehouse. And it's really just the property manager receives their 50 homes worth of amenities and they buy cleaner. They're sending them out to the cleaners when they're coming up on turn day. And so it's a couple days in advance so they can match it with their linens and anything else they're doing for their turn day checklist. And then handing it to the cleaners, and the cleaners are off to the races.
And you can do booking specific items as well, right? So if my pale family is going and everyone knows my family is so pale that you can add sunscreen into it. Is that true?
Yeah. So we can do, that would be hard to do for us. But yes, we have clients that want to provide sunscreen and a lot of times they do it by the persona of the reservation, not necessarily you specifically as the renter. So if it's a homeowner that's coming, they want to provide a certain list of amenities and a gift to them. If it's a VIP guest, they want to provide an elevated experience to them. If the gross booking value or the duration of stay is longer, they want to provide a certain level of amenities. So we're not there yet in tracking the persona of the traveler. That's certainly on our roadmap. But yeah, they're allowed to be more dynamic than just every single guest gets the same set of amenities.
Awesome.
I'm curious on this side because when we were talking to, speaking of the team, I will say the team is great. So Joy from your guys' marketing, director of marketing, she's amazing. And, getting to talk with her just on, obviously, like, I know how Sojo works with the logistics of plugging in either through Breezeway or through property management software and being able to have it be delivered. But hearing her talk about the tech, having the byproduct of the technology piece be the product itself, right? It could be the amenity, for the kitchen kit or the bathroom kit, whatever it is. So can you dive into, I'm curious to know from your guys' standpoint, because you make a lot of your own products, but you also have partnerships. What have been the biggest things from, why make your own product instead of partner, and why partner instead of make your own product? How do you decide what to do for what one when it comes to these certain type of amenities?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think it's a byproduct of where we are as a business. When we started, no one wanted to partner with us. And so we had to produce our own product, right? They all thought it was a crazy idea that would never scale. But that gave us, I'm really happy it turned out that way. I mean, because we produce our own product, we get to have like a really intimate relationship with our clients. 99 out of 100 of our clients want to apply their brand to our goods, and they want to put a QR code on their welcome card to then drive the guest to book direct and give them $50 off their next direct booking. Like, we couldn't do that and be that dynamic and that curated with each one of our customers if we were just an intermediary. And so it's allowed us to create really deep, meaningful relationships, and then also deploy some really cool programs with our customers. But we've got a ton of clients today that are like, man, I love Sojo, I love the tech, I want to save time, I want to standardize, but I want to use a beta. And like, we have programs that we deploy with them for third-party branded products all the time. So for us, we make more money when it's Sojo product because we control that supply chain, and we're able to create a more really wrap ourselves around the clients in that regard, and be really bespoke to them. When we don't control the supply chain with a third party brand, again, we just can't get as close and can't offer as much value to them.
I love the customizable boxes that, like, there's a long debate in the industry of how many brands there are in vacation rentals, and a lot of people will just say there's two. There's Airbnb and there's Vrbo. But by showing the guests upon arrival, a box from said company, it helps to reinforce the fact that these are the actual people providing the services, the boots on the ground, the houses, the relationships with the properties. And I think as an industry, that's a good trend. Aside from whatever's in the box, those are all big perks. The marketing that you get right when the guest arrives and they see it in the bathroom, in the kitchen, on the main table, all those things, that is the extra mile, and that is a perk to obviously both the guests staying as well as the property manager. More broadly, Max, I guess two questions. You guys did fundraising in probably one of the hardest times to fundraise. Walk us through that process a little bit, how long it took you. And then I'd love to kind of understand what you're seeing ahead in the industry. We've talked on this show a lot about consolidation, particularly on the tech side. And then last week we talked about rate compression and occupancy compression on the property manager side. So would love to, a two-part question, but walk us through the fundraising process first.
Sure. I mean, first, I agree with your comment on the marketing side. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm the least creative person on this call by a mile. But it's amazing to see the guests just be so passionate about watching their brand manifest itself onto the amenities, onto the packaging, be able to curate their own messaging and see that. I remember when I started Sojo, I went to a Verma event as just a bystander, just to see what it was like. And I remember Jason Sprinkle of Key Data got up on stage and had done a survey that said 72% of renters, vacation renters, go into a home and they assume they're staying in an Airbnb. And he used that as an indictment on brand awareness and brand advocacy of each one of the property managers. And it just hit me on the head that we had an opportunity to be a piece of that puzzle for them. And it's just been a blast to see how passionate people, I mean, this is their livelihood. This is their business that they've started. These are still small to medium-sized businesses. And it's just awesome to see those come to life through amenities and gifts and messaging and just the value that we're able to bring to clients through that experience has been unintended consequence of launching the business, and it's just been an amazing journey thus far. But so I completely agree with you. It's been really cool. On the fundraising side, I mean, we're just lucky to I never wanted to raise capital ever. I had raised capital in my last venture, didn't like it, felt like I was on a treadmill of every 6 months I was out raising more money. And once we decided to raise capital in Sojo, the reason we did it was because it's the first business I think I've been a part of that was just a really good freaking idea. And I've been a part of plenty of businesses in the past you just had to work really hard at, and wasn't a great idea, but I could outwork people. And this just deserved a real shot on goal, and it needed more money than myself and my co-founders could put into the business. And we wanted to give the team and the customers that opportunity. And it was honestly a great experience. I talked to 3 different venture capital groups. That was it. I'm not the shotgun
Only
approach.
3?
I talked to 3, got 3 LOIs, and we went with Ballast Point Ventures, which was the lead investor in Key Data. And I remember the conversation with them was, they're East Coast money, they're out of Tampa, they're not traditional West Coast money. And it was, hey, Max, we love your team. We love what you're doing. We want you to grow as fast as you can, as long as it's profitably, maintain your unit economics. Right. And I just thought that was the most, I'm not the grow at all costs kind of mindset. I think about, if we have a month that we lose money, it just absolutely pains me. I want to drive to profitability. And so I thought the mindset was aligned well there, and they'd be steady hands in what seems to be some, uncertain times from a macro standpoint. And so, honestly started it in October, closed the fundraise in December, announced it in January, February. It was a great experience. And it was, Jason over at Key Data, who's been, is the Pied Piper of the industry, of course, introduced me to them. And so it was a warm intro, and he co-invested in the round alongside of them. And so it was just a great experience. Just a really, really fun time.
I'm so jealous of that whole story.
It's not most people's capital raise experience.
Not at
that
all.
sounds like a dream.
It was awesome. I had a great time, and it was a great outcome.
Yeah, that's huge. And then shifting into the industry, obviously, being tied in with Jason, you get to see around corners a lot more because his experience, and everything he touches seems to turn to gold. So he's very well respected. But what are the things you're seeing in terms of broader trends, not specific to your industry, one way or another?
I mean, there's certainly a lot more concern on costs, and this, I think that comes one. There's more professional. Like I think as the industry is professionalized, and we have institutional capital that's come into play, you can see that drive towards efficiency and profitability and maintaining their margins is. I'm getting those conversations a lot more this time this year than I ever did, a year or 18 months ago when we were starting the business. So I find that one responsible, but two also a certain, I think, emblematic of a larger trend of uncertainty and wanting to make sure they can survive a slower a slower couple of years and a more compressed rate and margin environment.
Were you seeing, since you're using the data from, key data to look at pacing and everything, did you have, were there alarm bells going off, or maybe not alarm bells, but little bells going off when you were looking at some of that data? Or has this been more of like a in the moment thing that you're realizing?
No, I mean, Jason's been great in terms of showing us not just the data, but also how to use the data to help impact the business. And so we're able to look around corners like Michael suggested, which is great. But I think for us, we're still so small. I mean, we have 150 customers and 20,000 homes on the platform. So like even with a slowdown, acquiring 1,000 plus properties a month is, we can compound through a lot of the either the stagnation or slowdown within certain markets. And so it's just allowed us to be more accurate. And it's certainly nice to know when a customer misses your forecast, it's the overall industry, not specifically their, desire to, the product market fit within that specific geography or that client. And so that's nice to know and to be able to educate the, especially the new capital on, from a board standpoint. But no, I mean, he's been super helpful in that. And we're just trying to be, as dynamic and responsive to the data as it comes across.
I like that for the property manager standpoint, even if they're being more frugal or cutting costs due to the economic uncertainty that we've seen. The nice thing is that it does go off of reservations. I think a lot of people expect, especially when you have X amount of homes in a certain destination, that you have to fill up and stock up, whether it's going through Costco or Amazon and doing all this stuff. And then now you just have all the stuff sitting there, whether you use it or not, or if you run out faster than expected. So that's a great part that I think the dynamic piece of Sojo. I'm curious to see from your guys's, understanding with the data, with the logistics, because it's not just amenities. You guys have a tech, back end that you've built and created for the company. What kind of, I don't know, I hate the word trends, but based off of the data that you see with your customers, with key data, all this stuff, what are some things that maybe you guys are seeing that either isn't being talked about as much or is just really mapping up to what the industry has seen with obviously slowdown in certain markets versus, international travel now happening, but not people coming to the US, people leaving the US. So I don't know. Do you see anything from that point of view with your guys' tech and the data points that you guys have as well?
Yeah, I mean, nothing revolutionary. I mean, I think it reinforces everything that you guys have talked about on this podcast and on previous ones. I mean, there's certainly a slowdown. There's a ton of supply. Occupancy isn't where people want it. It's still really, right. I mean, it's our Super Bowl right now, right? I mean, for us being a reservation-based business in terms of where we make money, June, July, August is just as crazy and frenetic as can possibly be. So, I mean, there's a slowdown generally, but again, it's the busiest time of the year for us. We've got 35, 40% of our homes in the Gulf Coast. And so we're humming. But yes, I mean, to your original point, people, I did it because I wasn't smart enough to think about what a SaaS plus product, pricing strategy would be. So I just would put it all as one. But it certainly benefits in times of where we get to say, hey, look, we make money when you make money. And if you have fewer turns in a month this year than you did last year, we ebb and flow with your calendar. And so it's not as though it's not a fixed fee type business. Build it into your margin for each one of your stays. And we're going to ebb and flow as the year goes on. So it's certainly a value add to clients when you explain it to them in that way.
I love that because, as an operator and I'm going through my P&L and seeing what I'm using and what I'm not using, having that flexibility means that I would be like, that's something like, oh, I'm more likely to keep rather than, send to the chopping block. Having a partner, a tech partner that really works with you, it adds even more value. It adds like a peace of mind, almost like this intangible quality that you don't feel like you're getting taken advantage of almost. It feels like a real partnership that we're both succeeding when we're succeeding, and then when times are a little bit slower, you're basically helping us out. So I think that's great.
Yeah, we've not had a lot of customers talk about, our attrition from an overall customer standpoint is incredibly low. And we have customers today that talk about wanting to spend less per reservation because they want to drive more profitability for the stay in peak season or going into a softer shoulder season. But we're not getting customers that are like, man, I need to your point, we're not going to the chopping block a ton as a fixed fee, whether or not they're busy. So I think that's working to our advantage.
And you mentioned a second ago profitability, and that definitely seems to be the theme over the past 12, 18 months in the industry, and rightfully so. For far too long, it was largely propped up by venture capital and all the acquisitions that were happening. Some made sense and some didn't. But when you're going into a sales discussion, is the product cheaper, more efficient, less labor intensive? What is the sales pitch? What's the value prop?
Yeah, it's time savings overall. So the automation removes labor from your model. We're talking between 45 and 60 minutes a turn. So pretty substantial labor savings. And then really it's all around the branding and the in-home marketing. And so the customers, they like the fact that we're not overly expensive from a hard cost standpoint. They can have some soft cost from a labor perspective, and then they really love the branding aspect. We're able to help them deploy programs that they couldn't do on their own at any level of scale. And so it's a nice 1-2 punch for them.
Awesome.
With the branding piece, I just wanted to ask more of like, what's that threshold in order, like what's the barrier to entry for a branding piece? Because I think that for companies like ours versus Brandy's is 600 plus properties and units versus us are like 13 or 14. So, and we're pretty spread out too. The value prop, I know for us, like, is finding any touch point that we can have as a property manager to insert our brand, insert our voice, insert our type of, whatever you want to call it, throughout messaging and all the digital aspects and guidebooks and whatnot. But, to have the little extra touch point of the amenity inside the home that's branded and stuff is harder, especially because we're spread out and so small. So I guess what's that threshold for, property managers that want to get into that branded side?
Again, it's a product of where we are from a tech standpoint. So for us today, like our average customer has 100, 130, 150 homes on the platform. We don't have a self-serve user interface where you can come sign up for Sojo and opt in and do your own branding online. Like we'll get there eventually, and then we can scale down to smaller customers. But for us today, we've got people that are talking to each one of our clients, and so we pegged that threshold at around 100 homes.
For those individual property owners, what's the time frame before you guys want to or start to service those folks?
I hope it will be, probably Q4 next year. It's a pretty substantial lift for us.
It's a big one. Yeah.
It's a big one. And there's just a lot. There's so much opportunity. Again, we have got 150 customers today. Like it's just not a lot. And so I think there's so much meat on the bone to go and acquire and build relationships with, the 50 to 100, plus property managers in the space. And so it'd have to be pretty compelling for us to start moving downstream more aggressively than that.
Fair enough. Stay focused.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael, I'm curious. So we've got 1 minute left, and one of your favorite things to do when we ever have a guest on the show is to do a rapid fire questions segment. Do you have a couple queued up, or
we can come up with them?
All right.
All right, Max. Well, morning bird or night owl?
Morning bird.
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Beach or mountain or
Beach.
city?
Beach for sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Obviously, my complexion does not put me towards the beach. Next international travel location, personal.
Personal would be Europe with my wife. We just talked about this last weekend, 15-year wedding anniversary next year. And so
15.
Congrats.
You don't even look that old.
Thank you. Thanks.
What countries?
She's never been to Europe, and so she's wants to go. I think we're today on Italy and Switzerland.
Okay.
Great choices.
Thank you.
If you want to stay in a castle in the UK, just let me know.
Done.
Will, Brandy?
Oh, sorry, Brandy.
No, go ahead.
Okay, Max, tea or coffee?
Coffee for sure.
Okay, iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Nice.
Correct answer.
Good answer.
SEC or Big Ten?
SEC.
Let's see. Denver Nuggets or Miami Heat?
Denver Nuggets for
There
sure.
we go. Let's go, Brandy.
I don't have any skin in that game, so
Okay. I just started getting skin in that game this year, so I just figured I'd ask, even though the championship.
Very convenient. That's called a fair weather, Will.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know any other questions to ask. These are harder to do. Pizza or tacos? Did you ask that one, Michael? Pizza or tacos? Nice. All right. Pizza or tacos, Max?
Man, that's a good one. Tacos.
Good choice.
All right. One more question. If a listener wants to try out a box, how do they get in touch?
Oh, I have
Get
the
some-
answer.
Go ahead, do it.
It's a link in our show notes. You get 30 days free with Good Morning Hospitality.
There you go.
Unless Max has a better answer.
Nope, that's as good as it gets.
Are you offering 60, Max? Is that what I?
No, not 30 it is.
Hard no.
30 it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a really fun time. And your team, I love seeing them at all the shows. You have such a great group of people working with you. You have a great product. So it's really exciting to see where you guys are going.
Oh, thanks. No, I appreciate you guys inviting me on. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. Well, for all of our listeners, you guys are the best. So make sure you like and subscribe to all things Sojo. There's a link in our show notes. And then also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel because it's going to be popping off here in a little bit. So Max, thank you so much again for being our special guest today. We really appreciate, one, our partnership with you, also what you guys have done. Getting to hear your story and also see it from a year ago to today is awesome. So I look forward to the next time that you get to be on the podcast.
Let's do it. I appreciate it, guys.
Awesome. We'll see you all again next week.